Hello. Self-defense. It conjures up images of kung fu experts bashing people over the head. And that's not for me, you might say. Well, I'd agree with you. The best way of dealing with trouble is to avoid it in the first place. And that is what we want to help you to do in this program. In fact, the most likely people to be attacked or robbed are young men. It's just that when that happens, it doesn't make the news. But on the rare occasion when it does happen to an elderly person, we all hear about it. In fact, it's quite rare. There is a lot less to worry about than you might think. If you do worry, you'll frighten yourself and be too scared to go out. If, on the other hand, you know you have taken all the precautions you can lead the life you want to, as well as giving yourself peace of mind. We will show you some simple precautions you can take so that you can defend yourself by avoiding trouble. Les Cabrera is here to share some of his experience with us. He was a police officer for 15 years before leaving to set up his own security consultancy. If his advice is good enough for the rich and famous, I'm sure it's good enough for us. Les, in your experience, how common are attacks or robberies on the elderly compared to everyone else?
It may surprise you, Anita, to hear that it's a very uncommon thing. It does happen, you do hear about it from time to time, but not that frequently. Crime is mainly directed at property more than the person. So you needn't panic, you needn't sort of think that, you know, I mustn't go out of the house anymore now because things are getting worse, they're not getting any better, that's for sure. If you are frightened, you're not performing to your utmost because you're restricted, you are intimidated. You have intimidated yourself or somebody has intimidated you. So in order for us to react in anything that you do, to the best of your ability, you have to be relaxed and enjoy what you're doing. You can actually enjoy carrying out security precautions.
Having locks and bolts fitted at home would be a good idea. What locks and bolts would be best?
Very important, but without baffling your brains too much, let's just say that you should ensure, first of all, that they are properly fitted by a professional person, that they do work properly. If you consider deadlocks, mortise locks, these are traditionally old but very, very good locks. You should call a professional person, a locksmith. He will advise you exactly what locks you should have. He will also advise you as to whether you need to strengthen the door as well. That's his profession. He will give you the best advice so long as he is a registered locksmith.
Can we concentrate on doors?
Doors, obviously, yes. Intruders always, after all, they come in either through the windows or through the doors. Back doors, front doors. So if we talk first of all about front doors, you can install, if the door permits it, of course, peepholes. And you should know how peepholes work. You could install a very good, strong door chain, which is very effective as well. It allows you to open the door so many inches, sufficiently enough to be able to give something to a caller or receive something from a caller. The postman may have a small parcel for you without opening the door fully. It allows you also to be shown an identity card from somebody from the gas board or something like this and check it. Make sure the hinges are secure, that they are strong, that they can't be pushed.
I was going to say, some chains are so fragile that are really, somebody who really wanted to push that door at you and open it could break the chain.
Well, of course. Can I say here as well, Anita, that it's pointless putting things on the doors on a budget. There are lots of cheap equipment. The reason they're cheap is because really they don't really work. They just look the part, but they don't perform as they should do. It doesn't necessarily have to be extremely expensive, but they do cost a bit of money, but then again, they pay for themselves.
I've got a back door that has little, a solid bottom, little square windows all the way around with a wooden frame. Now, I always lock the door and take the key away and put it on a hook. Yes. Because that little window could be broken and the hand comes in and takes the key and opens the door that way.
If you're going to take the key out and hook it somewhere, make sure that hook is not near the window frame and certainly that it can't be seen from the outside. Point one. do not leave keys tied by a piece of string behind the door.
Yes.
Or over the letterbox, the latch door key.
For maybe
attitude.
somebody else to use, you mean?
Well,
one of the family?
You've got to realize that if an intruder comes to your house, he may very well just open the letter flap
Of course.
to see if there is somebody inside, and there he sees a piece of string directly in front of him, and he's got the key. This is a very, very old-fashioned idea, which sometimes people find it very difficult to forget.
It's sad not to be able to be trusting.
Windows are a very important aspect. If you have double glazing, then you're more or less your homeowner winner, because double glazing frames are very, very secure because the glass comes with the frame as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not, then bear in mind that glass where the putty has fallen off over the years, has dried up. It's very easy to get a pane of glass out of a window frame if the putty really is non-existent. So ensure that you have got good quality putty on the outside. Putty is always put on the outside, right? Otherwise, you can easily remove the pane of glass. If you have louver windows, they close onto each other. They're very easy to remove.
Are they?
In fact, I do not recommend them at all. You can easily remove louver windows by simply just lifting the metal brackets that holds the glass. These are the long strips, the little 6 inches glass. You can just pull them out quite easily.
So not very secure.
If you have them, you should consider replacing them. That's the best advice I can give you. If you insist on keeping them, then consider getting a locksmith then to apply some particular type of resin that they have as a form of glue that sticks the glass to the metal frames, and thereby obviously avoids being able to get the glass out. Windows, make sure also they have gadgets where you can open the windows certain distance and no further. But you can then, in an emergency, release them and totally open the window fully. This is possible. I don't advise people to start banging 6-inch nails through the windows. That's the best form of security because nobody can get in, but then nobody can get out either. And you've got to realize as well that when you start tampering with doors and windows, there is a fire precaution aspects as well to consider.
Sometimes you want to get out.
Precisely. In an emergency, you don't want to be hanging around having to look for a hammer to get the big nail or the screwdriver to get the big screw out.
Lights, they're very important to security, aren't they?
Oh, indeed, very, very important. Remember it like this. This is the rule. No lights, darkness, bad news.
Empty house.
Precisely. On the other hand, some lights, or plenty of lights, you can see where you're going, you can see who is outside. That must be good news. So no lights, bad news, some lights, good news. I would suggest that at all times you should have at least, if you're out of the house or whether you're in the house, have some lights that can be seen from the front of the house as well as the back of the house. Leave an upstairs landing light on, a downstairs room lit. I know it costs money, but it's well worth
Would you
spending.
advise that sleeping at night as well?
Not necessarily, because people do assume that the house at some time or other during the night obviously will be in total darkness. But normally in the evenings and late nights, consider the use of timer switches. what happens basically is the light comes on its own when you're not there at an appointed or chosen time. And it goes off at a chosen time as well.
Lights outside the house.
Indeed, that's another very,
Let's talk about the front of the house, for instance.
Why not consider having a light on the porch, for example?
Mm-hmm.
I accept that anyone that comes to the porch can easily remove the bulb. But then if suddenly the front of the house is in darkness, or when you approach it, you find that the front of the house is in darkness, you will be at least, you're warned that something has gone wrong. It may well be the bulb has gone.
Also good if you're looking through the peephole.
Of course.
The person there will be lit.
Indeed. You can get a better view, of course.
Back of the house?
Back of the house also very important, although it doesn't get used as frequently as the front of the house. But consider having a garden light installed. There are professionals who will tell you where these garden lights should be installed. Usually it's as high up as possible so people can't damage them, throw something at them, break them, take the bulb out. Usually installed in something like 12, 15 feet up. It gives you better coverage of the back garden as well. And these lights can be switched on from the inside of the house. Sometimes people like to let the hedges at the front of the house grow rather too high, I think. A, they obstruct the light into the front room. B, they are a security vulnerability because people could be hiding behind, or someone could be hiding behind the bushes as you walk up the garden path to your front door. So keep your hedges cut down low at the front of the house. Also, it's very possible you may have a garden shed. Well, remember, earlier we spoke about the locks on doors. Locks should also be placed on the garden shed. Remember, there are tools in there which are very, very useful for a burglar or an intruder to use. Shovels, things like that.
To get in.
To get in, to break glasses, to get into your house from the back, which is usually relatively quiet. Also, if you have ladders lying around, make sure that you put chains around them and a padlock, because they will use this, obviously, to get into the upstairs part of the house. Generally speaking, remember also, if you have taken all the things that we have discussed regarding the house protection, from the front of the house right through to the back garden shed, and don't forget the garden shed, it's very important, then the only other thing you can do is announce it to the world that you are security aware. And you can do this by displaying the stickers, the neighborhood watch stickers.
Yes.
In fact, if you have got a neighborhood watch, you should join it. This is another way of discussing.
Very important.
Well, it's a way of discussing problems and sharing problems with each other.
Yes, and knowing that somebody is watching out for you,
Indeed.
for each of you.
Exactly what we said earlier on. But also as well, there is another sticker, which is the sticker that announces that your valuables in the house are marked. And that also shows the burglars that you are security aware. You've marked your property, you are a member of the neighborhood watch, therefore you are security conscious. So you are announcing, in fact, that you have and are taking daily precautions as far as intruders are concerned, and that their lives, if they dare to break into your property, it isn't going to be easy or worthwhile.
A lot of people worry about answering the door to strangers. What advice have you got for that?
The best advice, obviously, is answer the door, but exercise great caution first. Make sure you ask for ID. If they don't have an identification card, don't let them in. Don't believe them. Don't even listen to them. If they're selling something and you're not interested, just say no thank you and close the door.
Some ladies get embarrassed asking for ID cards.
You should always ask for an ID card. It's just one of those things you have to almost be rude about. If you're not interested, don't waste their time or your own by entertaining whatever it is they are trying to sell you.
All right, but what if it seems genuine? What if it is the electricity man, the gas man, or just something that seems more pleasant? Still ask.
You should always ask for an ID card. Now, the next question people usually ask is, what am I looking for in an ID card?
Correct.
An ID card will have the person's name, first name and surname, what he does, who he's from, the company details, and also, of course, his photograph. So take the time, before you answer the door, first of all, put the chain on.
Mm-hmm.
Then look through the peephole.
Mm-hmm.
But even one further step, in fact, which is even better than doing all these things, and that is, as soon as the doorbell goes or someone knocks on the door, try and answer the door from a side window, possibly the bay window, that opens sufficiently enough for you to be able to talk or receive something from the caller.
First of all, look. I mean, sometimes you can tell that it's a person you don't want to see.
Well, of course, if you can't read what's on the card, don't leave the door ajar or open with a person standing on the doorstep whilst you go off and get your glasses, your reading glasses. Say, excuse me, close the door, tell him you're going to go and get your glasses. Come back and then read the card thoroughly. Right. One further step you can go and do is you can actually ring the company. The telephone number should be on the card and the name of the company. And just confirm, do you have this person calling on me about this particular reason? If they know nothing at all about that person, just give them the card back and say thank you very much and close the door again. But report this fact to the police. They want to know that there is somebody going around with what appears to be a false identification card.
Right. And if that person is genuine, there's no harm done anyway.
People who are genuine, precisely, if you are genuine or the caller is genuine, he will wait. That's why he knows you're going to ring the company up. He has nothing to fear.
Yes.
In a way, in fact, he would prefer you to be at ease and listen to what he has to say and allow him to do what he has to do in the house. So he would encourage you almost to go and ring the company and check his details out.
We often hear about bogus builders and antique valuers. What sort of tricks do they get up to?
Very important, Anita. Let me take these two separately. First of all, let's deal with the bogus builders. And they do exist, believe me. These are the people who look like builders, they're dressed like builders, they've got overalls, they have a tatty van parked outside your door. And for all intents and purposes, they're very nice people. They insist on banging on your door to get you out, to point out to you the fact that possibly the gutter is falling off, the chimney is about to fall, the tiles are going to give you a lot of problems and it's going to cost you a lot of money unless you repair them now. Now these are things that you know nothing about, whether you're elderly or even if you're not an elderly person, because you never ever go on the roof, of course you don't. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to distract you in such a way so that the only way, after all, you can see what's wrong with the roof as they're pointing these faults out, of course, is if you accompany them to the bottom, well, to the pavement, more or less. Yes. So you find yourself standing on the pavement, looking up at your roof or the chimney stack, whilst they're pointing out all these very technical problems that they're pointing out to you.
Yes.
At the same time, they usually have an assistant, that's the second builder's with him. And he will be sent, once again on the pretext that he's doing you a favor, he will send the assistant through the house to have a look at the back of the roof from the garden. So you find yourself with one person who's just dragged you to the pavement, whilst another one's walking through your house, allegedly go to the back garden area. What they're doing, in fact, is the one that walks through your house is registering everything you've got in the house. Any antiques, any valuable, any silverware, furniture.
Not necessary to take there and then.
Oh, no, no, no.
Just preparing themselves.
Precisely. What they're doing, in fact, is, A, they're registering and collating all the items you've got in the house to show that you have got some valuables in the house. B, what they might also do is they will unlock windows and doors that you have locked and secured. So the answer there is, obviously, if you are worried, or if somebody points out to you that the gutter, the chimney stack, the tiles need looking at, say thank you very much.
Another day.
Another day. And then call a respectable local builder and get at least 2 or 3 different opinions. But don't allow the person that came to the door on the pretext that he is doing work down the road, and therefore the usual ploy is, if I can do your job at the same time, it'll be cheaper because I'm in the area anyway. Yeah. Okay, so the builders, the bogus builders, bad news. Builders as well are members of the National Federation of Builders and things like that, so they all have identification. They should have cards. They should, but then again, don't bank on builders. They usually don't. The second part was the
antique dealers.
Antique dealers, yes. A fantastic offer could be put to you to the effect of, may we give you a free valuation? You may have some antiques you know nothing about. If you let me look at your furniture, you might be very pleasantly surprised to learn that you've got some and it won't cost you a penny. You've got some very valuable antiques, some very valuable furniture, some very valuable silverware. Now, what's happening there is, if you're gullible enough to believe them, of course, as the man, you are now allowing him to find out exactly what you've got. And it is possible you may have something which is worth a lot of money, and you don't know anything about this at all. But he's not doing it for your own good. He's doing it for his own good, so that then either he or somebody else that he will send will come into your house and take the very same property.
They always send in the one with the honest face, don't they?
Usually.
So I've heard. One other point that is probably more difficult to say no to. Somebody comes to the door gasping for a drink of water, or I've broken down in the car, can I use your telephone? The more panicky calls at the door. Very difficult to say no.
The drink bit is very rare. Usually, you're quite right. Usually it's, I've just broken down. It's very...
My mother's had that. I mean,
I can't believe it.
It's very difficult to not want to assist somebody who's in trouble.
Just simply say my telephone's out of order, but the next door telephone works.
Yes, or there's a phone box, here's 10p.
Yes. Anything like that. Just don't let them into your house. It's easy to get into the house. It's not so easy to get them out.
Yes. Once a week, most pensioners collect their pension. Doesn't that make them rather vulnerable?
Very. Unfortunately, as every old-age pensioner knows, you've got to go to the same post office, usually on the same day, or a choice of 2 days of that week. And you're so restricted, of course, that everybody else knows when is pension day at the local post office. Now, this is a security vulnerability, of course it is. And the only way around it is consider seriously making arrangements with the Newcastle office that handles all the pensions, and having your pensions transferred into your bank account. Then that way you go to the bank, like everybody else goes to the bank, and nobody knows when is pension day and when is not pension day. Put a few pounds in one pocket, a few pounds in another pocket, and a few pounds into your purse, and then put the purse into your bag if you're carrying a shopping bag. Not so much for the people in the post office, but should you be unfortunate enough to lose your purse, you don't lose all of it.
Got the money, taking it home. What about hoarding? Because I know that a lot of older people feel secure that they've got a lot of money within their own surroundings.
Everybody likes to feel secure, obviously, whatever age you are, that you have got money around. You have the syndrome of, sticking the money under the floorboards, under the carpet. I don't think there's a place in the home that an elderly person can actually conceal property that can't be found within 10 minutes, of course. It's 1989 now. It's It's time now that people begun to realize that commercial banks and building societies are now very, very commercial things. They're not stodgy, traditional, stuck-up establishments anymore. It's worth going in there, in fact, and speaking to somebody and telling them to tell you what facilities they offer. You'd be amazed, in fact. They cater for almost every possible need that you might have as an elderly person. And at the same time, let's face it, money kept at home only attracts thieves, and you'll lose it, or jewelry, you'll lose it.
Yes.
At least if you have your money in the bank, it's gaining you interest.
Yes.
So if you're worried about the occasional odd extra few pounds, you could be making a few extra pounds by letting the bank look after it. Good morning, Em. We've come to have a look at your house for the security survey. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right, thanks. How are you, Liz?
Not too bad, not too bad. Listen, do you want to step outside so we can have a look? Yes?
Oh, I've got the key.
Got your key?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the front, first of all. Let's start first of all with the door, shall we? I see it's a very good, solid door. It's
Yeah,
been
oh,
well
yes.
fixed. They don't make these like they used to, do they?
No.
Really solid. You've got two very good, strong hinges, top and bottom, suitable locks. Because you've got a top half of glass, I see you don't have a peephole.
No, well, I don't need one, really. I don't like them. I just look out the window.
Yes, I noticed that when I knocked, first of
Yes.
all, you answered me through the window.
And I
often,
tap on the window and they come round and have a
of
look.
course, and that is often a much more suitable
Yeah.
way of answering a door than looking through a
Yeah.
peephole
And
as
if they're
well.
not in, if I'm not in, or I don't want to talk to them, I
You ignore them.
ignore them.
Well, that's very, very good. I'm very impressed with the door. You could obviously, of course, have a porch light as usual as well, but then in your case, you don't really need one.
I don't need it. I've got a good hall light.
And also you've
And
got a
that one
very
across there.
good street lamp here as well, which must shine a lot of light onto your front door as well, one across the road as well.
Yes.
So this is fairly
Plenty
well
of
lit up
light.
at night,
Oh,
is it?
yes.
You're very lucky there. All right, so the door is quite acceptable, and I have no suggestions to make about the door. I see you've had the windows done recently, have you?
Yes.
They're all aluminium.
Well, they're all aluminium. You can't move
aluminium,
them.
double glazing as well, and obviously these are sealed, so you
Yeah,
can't open them.
No.
A very good security precaution.
Can open the top, but then I've
Yes,
got keys for that.
fine. But they're very well sealed. In comparison to the house next door, which hasn't yet been done,
Oh no.
they've still got the wooden frames, and obviously the putty is falling off as well, as you can see. You
Yeah.
won't have that problem, will you? No way will you have
certainly
a
we
problem.
won't.
Now, I also like your garden area. This is nice, not only because it's nice and neat and pretty,
Yeah.
but also you don't have any high hedges that people can hide in them, have you?
Well, no, because it takes such a lot of light out of the room.
Of course it does. It
That's
takes the
more
light
than-
out. And what's more, unlike two doors down, I see they've got a very, very high...
Oh yes. And that stuff there.
And obviously, you see, from a security point of view, people can sometimes, especially when it's dark, hide in the hedges and surprise you as you walk in.
Wouldn't like that
So-
at all.
It's very, very good, because you've got 1, 2, 3 houses running along
All
each-
nicely fronts.
Of course, yes, and it's all nice and clear. Now, this is classified as a semi-detached, isn't it?
Yes.
Basically because it's just a little 2-foot alleyway on either side where
That's all.
many years ago, I suppose, the dustman used to...
Well, it was the dustman.
Was a
But-
dustman, you
Yeah,
get the
but they
dustbins
don't
out.
now. They come down.
Of course they don't. Well, look, let's just have a look at the alleyway. You mind how you walk? Let's a look at the alleyway there. I'm very impressed with the way that you've maintained the property. Okay, so here now we have your alleyway, which you share with your neighbour, do you?
Yeah, with this side.
It's quite a long, deep alleyway, and I see at the bottom you've both got doors which you put up to block the entrance to your gardens, and then above it you've added another piece of wood.
Yes, well, people could have climbed over so easily.
That stops people, of course, climbing over the door and getting into the back. Let me just have a look, because I want to see what sort of locks you've got there to make sure they are securely fastened.
Right.
I'll just walk through. Okay, now let's have a look at the inside door. Just stand there for me. Now I notice the hinges are very important. They should be well and firmly secured. These are not so well secured. I see the door's a bit wobbly.
Yeah, well, it's pretty old and it's always been like that.
It is. It's probably dropped from the hinges a bit. You just need to tighten those screws down, but it's important that the door should be hinged properly. If we close it, now, let's see what we can find here. Straight away I can see that the bolt here doesn't quite meet.
No, we have to lift it.
You've got to lift it, have you?
Yes.
Let me just put this down.
It's all right to lift it.
Let's see, yes. But for an elderly person like yourself, sometimes it can be a bit awkward.
Well, I keep on saying I'm going to have it done, but I haven't bothered, but I will do.
I understand.
Yeah.
Now, the important thing about these bolts and back gates is that they should be well away from the top, so they can't put their arm through. Most people put it up here, you see, and this is ridiculous because they can put their arm through and just release the bolts quite easily, but preferably two bolts, one at the top, one at the bottom there, would be even more secure.
It's a good idea to have one at the bottom there. I never thought of that.
It's in case they want to put the shoulder to it, you see. Yeah. And always make sure that the wood isn't rotten.
Oh no, the wood wouldn't.
This is good wood.
Yeah.
But always say that's another precaution always to take. Make sure the wood's okay, it's been treated properly, and you have at least two bolts, one top, one bottom.
One bottom.
And that way, of course, you've got total security. Now I notice here, I see you've got a downstairs window which leads obviously into the yard area. There's also a door there we'll come to in a minute. Let's just discuss this window here. The framework appears to be in very good condition. Obviously the paintwork needs touching up. That's not so important. What is important is that it is firm. Now the latch you've got here is what I call an old-fashioned type latch. I shan't tell you how, of course, but they can easily be slipped. However, I know you did mention to me earlier on that you've got a screw-type bolt on the inside, which we'll examine. We'll examine that later on. And that, of course, secures the top half of the window to the bottom half, making it literally impossible to open the window. Yet, at the same time, in an emergency, you can get out from the inside. Of course you can. Now, the only other way, of course, they can get in is by breaking this pane of glass. And they don't normally do that because of the noise factor. They don't like to make too much noise. So that's pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty pleased with this window. It's very, very important to secure it. This door here, I noticed that you've got top half is glass, bottom half is wood, reinforced with another piece of, is it board or something on it?
No, it's wood.
Oh, it's wood as well. Now, that's a standard hand door, of course. When we go inside, we will check the locks you've got on the inside. Obviously, these sort of doors have no locks on the outside. All the locks are on the inside of the kitchen. So that's okay, but I'm very, very pleased to see that the wood is in very, very good condition. It's not rotted away. You certainly have taken a lot of precautions.
A lot of care.
Yes, a lot of care, a lot of precaution with your property. The only other thing, of course, is this little window here. Have you got a lock here?
Oh, I've got a lock inside that locks it from the inside.
It secures it and locks it from the inside. And it should not really open more than just as it is at the moment, so as to let a little bit of fresh air in. But always remember, although it's a very small window, an average person couldn't get in, but intruders and thieves are in the habit of using the services of young children, 9 and 10-year-olds, that they can actually push through, and they in turn will get in the house and open the doors and open the windows for the others to get in, you see?
Oh, don't.
There you are. No, so that's, I'm very happy with it. I think it's, security-wise, It's better than what you would expect to see in most average houses. Now, I noticed that there is another window just from the back here which leads into the garden. If we just go and inspect that one, shall we? Now, here we are, Em. This is the window which falls to the back of your kitchen, doesn't it?
Yes.
The only thing I can say about this window is that it's obviously a very old type window, but I like them because they're very, very secure.
But there's no locks outside at
Of course
all.
not. There's solid steel, or I should say metal windows. The seals are very, very good. They're sealed very, very well. The only thing I'll point out about these sort of windows is because they are old, and obviously through wear and tear, the latches here and the locks, often you see them broken. And once that happens, you've got no problems because yours are okay. Once that happens, the window should be replaced really because you're vulnerable. But I'm very pleased with it. It's, once again, it's, in comparison to what we've seen in the past, it's really very good security precautions.
Well, it's a pretty good window.
Right, Emily, this is your bottom of the garden shed, and I notice there's no lock on it at all, apart from this one.
Well, nothing valuable is kept in it.
Well, no, it may not be valuable, but you watch. The frame isn't too good. I'm going to show you, in fact, how many valuable things are in here which will be valuable for a thief to break into your house. Let's do a little survey very quickly. In you step. There you are. Now, as I said to you, you'll be amazed about what can be found in a garden shed that will be useful to a thief or a burglar. Now, straight away I see that there are tools lying about. Every shed keeps tools in it. You, by standard, have a very, very neatly kept shed here, I tell you. Now, you see things like this. You've got files, pliers, hammers, sort of things which are kept in any garden shed. But these things are very useful because they can break in.
I suppose they can.
They can, and this is why it's very, very important that you should have a very secure lock on the garden shed, and also, so you have the windows here should also be secured as well. People sometimes, I see you keep a small step ladder here. They can't really get very high up with this step ladder, but some people keep the long double ladders, you know, and they don't keep them chained up and locked up as they should do.
Oh, you're frightening the life out of me.
No. The idea is to point these things out to you so we can put them right, and then that way you can rest, you see. All right. Well, now, Emily, we've now completed a complete survey of the downstairs and the back of your house, and I've pointed out a few things to you, which I hope you found interesting.
I have, very.
Right. Now, the important thing about paying attention to the back garden area is because most gardens, like yours, they back onto each other.
Well,
And of course, what happens is, if a thief breaks into one house, you normally find that they jump over the back garden walls and they break into other houses as well. So invariably, you get 3 or 4 houses have been broken into.
yes, well, that's what usually happens.
That's right. It probably has happened in this area as well. So garden sheds, and as you can see, all the garden sheds around here are typical, really. There's quite a few of them, all backing onto each other.
And they've all got sheds.
Yes, but the important thing is everybody has to lock the sheds up. Otherwise, although you may have your shed locked up with no tools in it, but it may fetch the tools in from somebody else's shed. So it's important that everybody in the vicinity...
Got to look after everybody.
You've all got to look after each other, and then everybody will be all right then. Right, now, Emily, this is the inside of the downstairs room. We spoke about this lock earlier on, didn't we? This is what we meant by the screw type. Lock which bolts the top half of the window to the bottom half, preventing it from opening. And you're happy with this, are you?
Oh, yes.
Then we have another one up here that prevents the window from coming down any further. And this is the other one. You've had these in some time, have you not?
Yes.
And they work perfectly well, of course, and they really do the job very well indeed. Very, very happy with that. Very pleased with that. Right, now, Emily, here you have your telephone, which is...
Yes, you see.
It's always been here, has it? And I'm very pleased to see that next to your telephone, very wisely, you have your useful telephone numbers.
That's right.
So that should you want somebody, you can find the number very, very quickly. You have the extension next to your bed?
Yes.
And do you also have another duplicate pad next to it?
And a pencil and paper to ripped right
Of
off.
course. I take it that upstairs you have, of course, your doctor's number and
Oh, yes.
all the very, very necessary numbers you might need. I notice this is also a good idea. Your front door keys are kept by the telephone, away
Yeah.
from the front door,
And we know where they are.
so whenever you want your keys in a hurry,
That's it.
you know where they are always.
it.
Very good idea. Now, if I could just turn you around, I notice that just here,
Oh, yes, the lock.
you've got a bolt on the door. Very good idea, because at least if they do break in through the downstairs windows or back kitchen door, you at least are containing the intruder in this
In
room
that
here.
room,
They
yeah.
can't get out into the rest of the house. A very good idea.
So,
Preferably, I think I would prefer you to see you have you put in a bigger bolt. Because
well,
yes, a smaller bolt like this does do the business, but also at the same time, it can be pulled.
yes.
But nonetheless, it's better to have this than have nothing at all.
Yeah.
So once again, a very good idea there. Right now, Emily, let's have a look at the inside of your front door.
Yes.
I noticed straight away you've got a very good selection of security locks. This is a very sturdy, well-fixed lock, which you can also double lock from the inside when you're indoors.
Mm-hmm.
You then have another lock here, which is a mortise lock. Now this one, in fact, goes into the frame of the wood of the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the bottom here, you have a bolt as an added
Oh, yes.
precaution. Do you often use this one here?
No, not often.
No, but at
It's
least,
only when I'm worried about anybody being at the door.
of course, but at least you have it there.
I
That's
have
good
it
to
there,
have.
yes.
Now the one thing I like about these 1, 2, 3 locks is that only one, the middle one,
Mm-hmm.
which is well away from the main lock, they both support the bottom half of the door. And that's the only one that's dug into the
The
door
door.
frame. See, a lot of people make the mistakes of putting too many locks into the frame and, of course, weakening the door by doing so.
Oh, yes.
Because you can put your shoulder to it. That's how you place the chain on, of course. Very, very good sturdy fix here. And should you have to open the door, of course, you can just open it at least this much,
Mm.
which is sufficient enough to be able to collect an identification card and check it, or go and ring up the company, having closed the door behind you, of course. And if you are happy that the person that's calling on you is officially supposed to be here, then and only then should you then give them back the ID card and remove the chain again.
That's it.
That's it. So it's a very, very good sturdy lock.
Yeah.
Good lock, good chains, a good combination of security locks all round. 9 out of 10 for that.
Uh-huh.
If you feel the need for assistance, call the police. They don't charge for coming out. They don't mind coming out. They do it because, quite honestly, it assists them as well to keep track as to what's going on in their area. They have what they call collators, and they collate information. For them, it's all good information. So really, you are doing them a favor as well by calling them. So call the police anytime that you need assistance.
Les, thank you very much. I hope that some of these ideas can be useful to you. The main thing to remember is that there is a lot less to fear than you might think. A little common sense and a few simple precautions will give you security and peace of mind.